Hey guys, Shane here, Flight Simmer. Welcome to another episode of Test Drive. If this is the first time you've caught a test drive video, this is where we take a reasonably new product such as an aircraft, a scenery, a utility, and we'll take it for an old test drive or a spin around the block, and I'll give you my first impression. So if that interests you, why don't you stick around, hit the subscribe button, and today we're going to be checking out Carenado's new product, which is the PA31T Cheyenne. So as for all test drive videos, let's take a look at the outside and we'll get going. So some background information of the PA31T. First flight was the 29th of August 1969. It was produced between 1974 and 1985, and number of them built was 823. It was really developed from the Navajo, from the Piper Navajo. But let's have a look at the aircraft. So Carenado have done, obviously, their feature, I think their main feature is they make everything look pretty. So they've got 4K textures in the modeling here, which you can see, and we're taking a bit of a look of the tip tanks. To have a turboprop with tip tanks, that's got to be a must-have in the actual collection. And how good is this livery, the orange, red, and the gold? It's talk about pimped up, but it also comes with 5 HD liveries, 1 blank one, so you can do your thing. Really cool bump mapping, and I love all the scuffs on the plane, so you can see it's really old. It helps with the realism. Bit of a look in there. That's the new 3D pilots that Carenado introduced. I must say they need to get out in the sun more and get a bit of a tan. They look half dead, but they do look better than the previous ones. Love the scuffing on the nose, and this is probably one of my favourite parts. How you can actually see parts of the fuselage. You know, they're sort of sticking out, so they've done a really cool job with that. Obviously, the wheels are in good condition. One of the features that the wheels that they put in their run sheet is the wheels actually move on a landing and rollout. Looking at the nose, and they've got the shine, the prop shining as per all the normal aircraft that Carenado do. And the gearing, they always seem to do a really good job with the effects of underneath the wing. Carenado has also mentioned that they are using 32-bit sounds, so and I would agree with that, because the sounds on this aircraft are a little more high quality than what you usually get. There is some, you know, some buttons that you click in the cockpit, which is the same old sound, but the turbo and wind up, the noise of the engines, all that sounds absolutely sensational. So you'll hear that in the not too distant future. But just going around to the back of the fuselage. So just some performance stats on the aircraft. Maximum speed is 326 miles per hour. Cruising speed is 204. Stall speed is 88. Range is 1,702 miles. Ceiling is 29,000 feet, and rate of climb is 2,800. Competitors out there would be the Beechcraft King Air and the Cessna 441 Conquest 2, which I've actually featured those aircraft as well. But if you got gold wings and tip tanks, I don't know what would compete for that. But we've been saying that. Let's jump in the cockpit and get ready to take to the skies. So as we're in the cockpit, as per normal, Carenado's manuals are left to be desired. They basically give you a checklist and tell you, well, give you a checklist, and then you've got to find where all the buttons are and the switches. So first thing first is, generally I do, is go to YouTube and see if I can find a real plane and find the startup. But as we start up the right engines, a little bar may come across the top right hand screen. You can actually see I've done a startup video. And you can really hear those 32-bit sounds coming as the turbine winds up. Probably the only annoying thing would be the ignition clicking noise, and you obviously have to click that off. But we are at YMML, so we are at Melbourne, and we are flying to Tasmania, Australia, YMLT to Launceston. Let's get going. With those two big turboprops on either side, this aircraft, as you can see, I'm whacking on the anchors before I make this bit of an S-bend. It will have your work cut out when it comes to taxiing, because it can get away from you. If I could be basically doing Formula 1 maneuvers around this sort of S-bend as I'm going from one side to the airport, but it keeps taxiing really interesting because it's not something that you can be looking at another screen or doing something else while you're taxiing along. You've actually got to keep your eye on what's actually going on. I've just skipped ahead on the taxi a little bit else. This would be a 45-minute video. Nearly ready to line up on the runway. The weather is not favourable for the takeoff. We do have a crosswind, and we have some clouds around about 2,000 feet. With I think the ceiling's about 4,000 feet that we'll need to get through. So, we'll see what this Cheyenne can do. So everything is set and ready to go. We're just going to line up on runway 27. I would have to say just trim a little bit up on this aircraft and you should be good to go. I am using my pedals today, so it will be pretty rough to keep this on the runway with the crosswind. But I'll be quiet now and I'll come back to you once we've taken off. We're up. I was dancing around on that runway like a headless chicken. Not very graceful at all. But once you're in the air, you actually don't need to take off with any flaps whatsoever. I think the fuel load I had was about 50% for this takeoff. And yeah, once you're in the air, she is very reactive to your movements and what you do. But we'll keep going up, and we'll get the autopilot on as we're coming through the clouds. just coming through the clouds, and we're making a left-hand turn as we depart from the airport. Just having a look at the livery on the wing from inside the cockpit. Absolutely phenomenal. And if you may have noticed today, I'm actually using the GTN 750, so it is capable of using that. But we'll just quickly jump to an outside view, so as we can see the aircraft as we're departing Melbourne. Welcome back to the cockpit. Was a pretty easy climb all the way up to our cruising altitude of 22,000 feet. Wasn't too many bumps once we got past the clouds, but we're going to take this opportunity to take a bit of a tour of the Cheyenne's cockpit and the cabin, and give you our impressions on that one. So Carenado's gone with the slightly wear and tear look. Everything's quite sort of neat for an older aircraft. Like I said, with the manual that they supply, it will give you a checklist and some performance charts, but won't actually tell you where everything is. But when you sort of fly different turboprops and GA aircraft, it doesn't take long to sort of work out. Like I said, I'm using the GTN 750. You can see some of the marks there and the textures on the overhead panel. So I'm not actually trying out the native GPS that actually flies with it, so apologies for that. And Carenado's also mentioned they've actually modelled over torquing the engine, so you can actually fail there. Also, you'll need to keep your eye on the pressurization of the aircraft, or else you'll get warning noises and lights everywhere. But textures on the seats there, obviously leather seats look pretty good. Carenado's known for making good cabins look quite nice. Just looking for clickables, can't really find any there. We'll keep moving through. The capacity of this particular aircraft is 2 crew with 6 seats. So if I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we can see the 6 seats there. Coming up to the bar, no clickables there. That would be the prime position, right next to the bar. If you're on the flight there, they've done, like I said, done a good result. No, got a light switch there. They've modelled it, but doesn't actually click on. You can never actually read what's on the fire extinguisher by the looks of it. Moving to the back of the cabin, but yeah, like I said, they always do a pretty good job. No stains. If you've seen my previous videos, always usually find stains in the back, but not on this flight, which is good. And you pretty much will find that you've got your standard sort of stuff. You'll have your clickables on the tray tables. So we'll just make sure, have a look, see if they work. See if we grab ourselves a seat. That's a problem. Just click it back down. There's an issue with the tray table not turning right. So obviously that's only a little problem, not a major problem. I pretty much only spend the only time in the cabin when I'm doing these videos. Other than that, I would always be at the front. So obviously they'll fix that in a upcoming patch. Click away. We'll just check the other one. There we go. No problems there. It just folded back in with itself. So they've got a little bit of work to do on the tray tables, but that's not really much of an issue. So hopefully that gives you a bit of a look, and not a bad wind view there, I would say. So hopefully that gives you a bit of a look of the cabin of the Carenado. Obviously they have modelled the no smoking signs and whatnot. And we'll jump into the cockpit, and we'll start our descent into Launceston. Welcome back to the cockpit as we are approaching Launceston, but the cruise part of the flight has been a breeze. The Cheyenne's such an easy plane to fly in actually cruising mode, but we'll wait and see how she performs on the landing. So should be just coming through the end of the clouds. There we go, and the airport is in sight, just off to the left a little bit, so we'll have to line up. And we've just jumped through to short final. I'm a little high, but we'll see how we go. I'll bring up the wing view in a second, and I'll talk to you once we're exiting off the runway.
$500.
Well, that wasn't too bad. Coming in a little bit too hot, too high, so that's probably why we floated, but it ended up being a nice touchdown. Just whacking on the anchors there as we tried to make Charlie. We're going to jump in the replay so you can see the outside view of the landing, and I'll come back to you shortly. So my first impressions of the Cheyenne would be, it's got a little bit of work to do, it's got a couple of quirky bugs, but all in all it's pretty fun. It supports the GTN 750, which is always great. If I compare it to the King Air, it's a little bit more fun to fly than that, and it has a bit more guts than the Conquest, so this would be my pick over those two. So my name's Shane, thanks very much for watching. Please give us a thumbs up, a share, or if you're new to the channel, these videos, please subscribe. It's very much appreciated, and I'll see you on the next video. Cheers, have an awesome day.